Greetings, members one and all of the Salivation Nation. Another incident of a precious metal crime, and this one is quite intriguing indeed. Some lessons to be learned here. This comes to us from Chris Garner, sending this along to me from Coin Week. Let's take a look and see what happened to an Oregon man who was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison for defrauding investors in an Ohio gold mine. Yes, Harry Dean Proudfoot III, 79 years old, who was formerly a resident of Tigard, Oregon, was sentenced on Tuesday, April the 9th, to 84 months in federal prison and 3 years supervised release for running a fraudulent gold mining investment scheme and stealing approximately $4 million from more than 140 investors. Wow. According to court documents and information shared at trial, in 2008, Harry Proudfoot created Three Eagles Research and Development, a company based in Tigard that he used from 2008 through 2012 to solicit investors for a purported gold mining operation in Ohio. Harry Proudfoot, along with his adult children, including co-defendant Matthew Proudfoot, falsely promised to use investors' money to purchase mining equipment and conduct mining operations at 2 gravel pits in Ohio. To entice investors, Proudfoot and his children offered high rates of return, typically 10% of gross revenues, payable once the mine became operational. They falsely told investors they had all the necessary legal and business requirements in place for the mining operation. At the same time, Proudfoot and his children withheld important facts from investors, including that Harry Proudfoot had received cease and desist orders from the state of Alaska and Oregon for selling unregistered securities through material misrepresentations in 1992, 93, and 2003, and that Matthew Proudfoot had filed for bankruptcy in 2010. Rather than using investor money as promised, they diverted it to their personal use in funding living expenses, cars, travel, credit card bills, medical payments, lulling payments, and other expenses to keep the scheme afloat. Classic Ponzi scheme there. In 2011, the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission began investigating the group for securities violations. Ultimately, the U.S. District Court for the District of Oregon entered a judgment against Harry Proudfoot, Matthew Proudfoot, and the Three Eagles Research and Development Company in the SEC enforcement action. On December the 13th, 2018, a federal jury convicted Proudfoot of conspiracy to commit wire fraud itself, and conspiracy to commit money laundering and money laundering. Proudfoot's son and co-defendant Matthew Proudfoot pleaded guilty to wire fraud and money laundering on November the 1st, 2017, and he will be sentenced in July 8th of 2019. The case was investigated by the FBI and IRS criminal investigation and prosecuted by Scott Bradford and John Brassel, assistant U.S. attorneys for the District of Oregon. Wow. Well, it just goes to show you, if you're going to get involved in a mining operation, know the intricacies of what's going on. And keep in mind that these people, Harry Proudfoot and his son, obviously knew enough about it to entice people and to convince them. And about the rate of return, they probably, high rate of return. Typically, if something's too good to be true, usually it is. And so those are the things to keep in mind. But, with a little bit of research, they probably could have found out there was some pretty dicey situations going on here. $4 million. It's just crazy. 7 years in federal prison at age 79. He's going to be well into his 80s by the time he gets out, for sure. And, he may just die in prison. Who knows? But to me, that almost seems too small of a sentence. Just like the other story where he received 4 years in prison for, a large amount of money, over $1 million. But this is just something else. This is quite a scam that was going on there. $4 million is a lot of money between two people. And it doesn't say what happened to the other child, along with his adult children, including co-defendant Matthew Proudfoot. What about the other children? Who was the other person involved? How many others were involved in the scheme from the family that wasn't mentioned in this article? Were they charged? I guess, you know, it's it's not really said here what happened to the other kid or kids involved in this. It's despicable what some of these people do. I tell you, they have no, I don't know, conscience. Sociopaths more than likely, and that's just horrible to bilk people out of so much money with false promises and such. But you got to be very careful out there, and this is just another example of how and why we should be careful when dealing with precious metals. But you know what? The thing is, this is why I like dealing with metal itself. You know what I mean? If you buy an ETF or a paper, gold, silver, yeah, if it's SLV or GLD, more than likely it's legit. But who knows? There's so many things that can be involved if you actually can't see it or hold it. And it's not to say that you can't cash it out or it's not legitimate by any means. Don't get me wrong, but there's more propensity for fraud in a system like that, in any kind of digital system or what have you, than the physical. Now that people will say, well, Sal, what about fake silver and fake gold? Yes, always trust, but verify, or verify before you trust in some cases, especially if you don't know the person. I'll tell you a story that I went out and I've not only told my local coin dealer and alerted him to fake gold and silver, but also at a coin show, I found a fake platinum bar and a fake gold bar. I could just tell by looking at it. And I even told the guy, say, I want to have these looked at because of the thickness of them, and even compared. And he says he assured me that they were real. And I so wish I would have brought my precious metal verifier, which I left at home. I should have brought it with me. And the thing is that person who actually I knew from previous coin shows, this was actually up in Baltimore, that particular coin dealer, I don't think is a bad person. I don't think he knew what he had. But the thing is if you're a dealer, it's very important because it reflects badly on you. Even if you unknowingly pass on, somebody might not say anything, or they may just call the police or what have you. But it's always good to kind of know what you have. But mistakes do happen for sure. But in any event, that's really the biggest threat for us who collect the physical, is whether something is real or not. In this case, and if something is fake, well, more than likely we can either make amends or or get our money back or what have you at the point of sale or soon thereafter. It's less of a hassle, although it can be a hassle, and sometimes depending on how you do it, if you are too trusting, well, you might just get screwed. But it's less likely to happen than through something like this, where you're investing in a company that you think might be legitimate, and based off the promises told or what have you. And there's other layers of padding in there, making promises to people and saying, well, we're waiting for this and that to happen, and all that, and then all of a sudden they're just being blatant and spending the money on other expenses. So, and the lesson here is to definitely be cautious when working with other agencies or folks. Obviously we have to have some trust in whenever we buy precious metals, the physical or otherwise. But more than likely, you're going to be better off probably just connecting and buying the physical. And really, the best way to do it, the most foolproof way to do it, is to have, like I said, a precious metal verifier, a way to really tell if you have precious metals and buy and make it and purchase it at a brick and mortar, at a point of sale. And that's probably the most foolproof way to know what you're getting is genuine. And that's the really the bottom line. Although for many of us, we don't have that luxury for local coin shops, so we have to buy online. And most of the larger dealers can certainly be trusted. But in the end, lesson learned here. But very interesting story. Thanks again to Chris Garner for sending this along to me. would like to extend a multitude of gratitude y'all for watching, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.